A month ago, Collingwood was sitting pretty. They had a 10-point buffer on the competition. That margin for error has now been erased. And like everybody else, the Magpies are right on the edge.
Ideally, it would have been good to get Bob in a bit earlier because he'd
I think there are some alarm bells starting to ring.
And then there's a bit of mood music, isn't it?
It is a seismic result amongst the contenders, and the champs are still here.
We had a meeting about it, just, he said, don't sugarcoat it, we just outplayed. But that's real, the numbers don't lie.
Unbelievable victory. To be the best, you've got to beat the best. Collingwood have sat on top of the ladder for most of this season. They've come here and they've stared them down.
Brisbane, apparently they had a really stern and honest session about their contest and stuff, and I said, do you need that from me? Do you want that? I just don't think we need that. I just think we've got a lot of trust in our group. Hasn't been a pattern, but it's disappointing. Yeah, we've got work to do.
It's cause for concern at Collingwood.
I'm concerned that there's only a couple of strings to their bow at the moment.
We were outplayed by a really good team, like a really good team, a hungry team. As I said after Freeman, it's good to get that lesson now, isn't it? Yeah, I'm an eternal optimist. I have so much trust and belief. And if you're a Collingwood supporter at home, you'd think, geez, we played probably as bad as we played since round zero. That's real. We're not going to stand still. I said to the players here, we'll see you Tuesday with a smile on your face, ready to get better. Yeah, that's where we're going to live.
Is the history here a guide or a caution? And you can smell the desperation 4 nights out from that. Hawthorn's only way to the finals is probably through Collingwood, and the margin for error for the Pies is gone. The history repeating, Gaz, is you can run a couple of case studies here, but 2023 being the most relevant in the waiting room while finals had been secured, and before it was for all the marbles. They lost 3 out of 4. We're seeing that again. They never lost top spot, though, in 2023, and this is where this season gets sticky. A couple more missteps and they'll miss the top 4. Set it right and they'll win the minor premiership and restore favouritism. What do you believe?
2 of those wins, by the way, were by very, very narrow margins. So what do I believe? Craig McRae sat here on Monday and said it felt a bit like they were leading the Tour de France and the peloton was closing in on them, and that is exactly what's happening, which is great for the competition. Not so good if you're a Collingwood fan, because all of a sudden you're 10 points clear a few weeks ago. So there's a few... What happens when you're out in front for that long? I suspect Sydney copped this as well last year, is that opposition clubs go, OK, they're going to be there, Collingwood. Yeah, we suspect they're going to be top 2 or top 4, so we're going to have to go through them. So let's go to work on them. So there's a couple of things that have emerged, I think, in recent times, and whether it's real or not. There's no panic, by the way, because Brisbane they just might be the best team.
Yeah,
Brisbane. So no panic, but don't play down the line footy against Collingwood. That is the number one rule, I reckon. Their intercept marking game and their defenders behind the footy will be bolstered by Jeremy Howe. Just don't play straight line. They defend straight line as well as anyone in the competition. Their intercept marking game when they're winning and losing is different. And then we'll talk about ground ball in a moment. So their ground ball stuff, I think, there was a game against St Kilda, whether it was by design or their shocking kicking inside their forward 50, and all of a sudden they look very, very vulnerable. So in their losses, in their defensive 50, their ground ball results are 17 in the competition. So there's a couple of ways that you want to stretch them. You don't want to stretch them, you won't stretch them if you kick in straight lines, as we're about to see here, because Darcy Cameron's been the best intercept marker in the competition. He'll just pop himself down here, and Darcy Moore, in this role, is as good as anyone. So don't do that. Don't blast away like that. You're playing right into the hands of this Collingwood team. What this Brisbane team too is they then went off the line. No one likes to defend angles. So this is what makes it hard. And Collingwood aren't alone in this, but Wilmot's gone here. So there's Quainer up high as a defender. Perryman gets up high as a defender, change the angle, open some space up. Wilmot, who's one of the most outstanding young players in the game, comes on and kicks the goal. And then in that second quarter, Jared, Collingwood had complete domination, you'll recall it, until this. So then they just got back to work. So they sight Cameron, they sight Moore, and they go, we're not going anywhere near them. So for a period of time there, Collingwood just kicked goal after goal after goal. So this is instructive here. Keep looking. Keep referencing where those two are and go around them. And now this was really, we'll speed this up now, that was dramatic and enhanced because they couldn't get through. They just couldn't get... They only had 5 possessions or something in the inside 50 in the second quarter, but they went around them. So that's the way to go against Collingwood. Now, when there's pressure and everything else, the long down the line is a manna from heaven for the rest of them. But play the angles and be prepared to win the ground ball in your forward 50 and you'll stretch them.
So this is the tyranny of being the team that everybody's forensically studying, knowing if you're going to amount to anything, you've got to find a way to combat this system.
Yes, and there'll be many more layers to that. That's just the stuff I've seen. So Darcy Cameron's had 0 intercept marks twice this year. They lost both games. So all these things are justifying what you think. But I've watched them a lot. We watch them a lot because they're always big games. And, I just think if you play straight line, you play straight into their hands. And Brisbane, for the first time in 4 times, took it off the line all the time. And we'll talk to Chris Fagan in a moment, and they got through.
So what we're about to see with Collingwood is the margin for error has been erased. They went through the qualifying phase, took a breath around how to manage it, or they can't manage it any longer. So I suspect consequence plays a big role now from Thursday night and having Hawthorn and Adelaide. So we'll get the full ginned-up version of Collingwood now.
Yep.
And I suspect the lesson of 2023 was we didn't get that for a period of time and it never threatened them. They were still sitting on top and they produced that in the finals. I would expect to see that now on Thursday night. There's no loafing toward finals from here.
Yeah, and the selection integrity question will be really interesting. So you suspect that Frampton, I heard you today, the form in the VFL is not good. It's not important, really. I know that sounds stupid, but he's just going to come and play the role that frees up Darcy. Jeremy Howe, he comes back. And then you got the Ned Long question, who's been one of the success stories of the season, but he looked exposed in that pressure. Now, they may have faith in him working through, or they may go back to Mitchell, the known quantity. So all of these things will reveal themselves as early as Thursday night. And Collingwood fans should look forward to it. I mean, they've got justifiable swagger, and we'll find out whether it's well placed, because Hawthorn are playing for the whole damn lot.
This period was the theme of their whole premiership film, is when the doubts gathered in August heading towards September.
And the doubts are just... but there's some that people just don't like Collingwood. That's okay. That's just the drama around it. But the doubts aren't anything that's saying they can't win the premiership. I don't think any analyst is sort of putting a line through them. But the questions are there, and Craig McRae himself said it. There's questions, and we've got to get answers.
Did we get our default position restored? Brisbane's the best team in it until further notice.
I'm about to talk about another team that I'm almost become a citizen of Adelaide. I tell you what. The Brisbane Lions are very, very, very good, Jared, but that team over in South Australia, they're feeling pretty good about themselves.
What left the biggest impression on Saturday night from the Lions, particularly after what they'd done in the Q Clash, which invited questions around whether they were at the end of their run, whether they were marking time. Lockie Neal's reference to Cam Mooney in the aftermath of it's hard to review when you brought no effort.
Yes.
And you go, OK, so that gave us a really good look inside their week, and they were ready.
Yeah, that made your ears prick up, didn't it? We all looked at each other and said, well, that's exactly what happened. And they'd probably just wiped it and said, I'll trust you to say that that's what happens when you don't turn up. The exciting thing about Brisbane is they just keep getting better. And the Ashcroft boys, every time I watch them, get better. That kid Wilmot off half-back just keeps getting better. And then Rayner and Bailey barely touched it in the first half. And in the second half, they came to light. Fletcher keeps getting. So they've got this hardcore of senior players who play at a level, and these young kids just keep getting better and better and better.